And the car dealer and a Japanese steakhouse, we created an event called Sushi, Sake, and Service. And we were able to give money from that evening to a charity that was dedicated to women. The car dealer wanted women to understand the service department and bring their cars in, which then later they bought cars. The Japanese steakhouse wanted women to bring their families in. The charity wants women because they're mostly impacted by their cause. So you have three organizations all sharing a target market coming together for an amazing evening where they all benefit. And we had such a good time, such a great event. So I think oftentimes we're not looking at who shares the target market. We're thinking they're competition, but they're really not. We share that target market, so why aren't we attracting them together? And the creativity of the nonprofit right now is extremely important because there are so many nonprofits. That it's the creativity, it's the engagement, it's the marketing, and it's the motivation as to why people should get involved with your nonprofit. Different reasons for different audiences, and that's just the honest truth. There are going to be people who are really motivated because of a vaccine that you found. There's going to be people who are motivated because they know someone in their neighborhood. You know, you have to understand what is their motivation, and then, of course, help them build that and get them involved. That's key.
Yeah, and that's key, especially you have to be motivated in terms of just really having a passion. I think too, you know, you have to have your heart in what you're doing. I mean, I think that's kind of because it is work. There's a lot of work involved, and if you're trying to open a soup kitchen and you're thinking, gee, you know, I can't stand cooking or being around food, that wouldn't make any sense. You have to have, because there's work involved. Everything you got to plan and have a strategy. And I often say I'm not a great business plan type person, but I sort of think you have to write everything out just about. I'm just that type of person. If I don't write things down, I mean, even if you want to have a fundraiser to sell cookies, to maybe get uniforms or something, you know, you have to say, okay, how many cookies do we want to sell, and how much flour is it going to take? And I mean, you should write things down and just try to strategically plan, you know, for success. So I think that in reading your bio and just looking at the many things that you have been involved in, I thought, boy, what a resource you are and your organization would be for people, especially a nonprofit of a larger caliber, who just you have to have people to work with, because sometimes you just feel like, you know, a tiny fish in a huge lake. You have to have somebody who's been there and understands sponsorship, fundraising, events, and it's just great. Your organization sounds really great, especially today with everything being so tough financially. You were saying that there are a lot of nonprofits. How are you finding, I mean, have you really seen and found that, you know, they're really struggling because there's so many nonprofits today? And are the nonprofits growing because people find themselves in the need for help?
Well, there are 3,655 nonprofits just in Northeast Ohio where I live, and that's about a 17-county area. So you're talking a nonprofit that has 2 people or someone who runs it out of your home, all the way up to an American Red Cross, which has many employees, hundreds of employees. So when you put all of that together, to me it's the strategy, and you said it best, Linda, when you were talking about putting the plans together, doing the budgets, and being smart and strategic. I love working with nonprofits because we work with very small nonprofits and very large ones. Some are very motivated, and some started, speaking of motivation, because someone was angry that they had to go through finding services for their child, and so they started a nonprofit to make the road easier for other parents, which is a great motivation. You have others that are motivated because they've been in business and hundreds of years as a nonprofit, and they have definitely, you know, a great reputation and have done a lot. Yet both of those nonprofits would struggle in a tough economic year. What my company does, and I must have a great staff, is we work on the strategy. And instead of doing 16 things well, I'd rather you do 6 of them well. Because the 16 that you've been doing, maybe they're really not as strong as they once were. Understand, like in marketing, that it's a niche. I would rather see a nonprofit complete 50 grant applications a year, have 6 different audience type fundraisers, one for seniors, one for young professionals, one for family, one that's, very much women, one that's very much men, and really do those well. And then, of course, develop a major gift program and eventually plan giving. That's a good, healthy nonprofit. But without a great strategy and without a great roadmap, they're not going to get there. And one of the pieces my company we love to do in our Diamond 4-point marketing strategy, we start with not just the goal. We start with what's the motivation? What are we really trying to do here? Why are we trying to do this? For some nonprofits, it's signing up members. They're a museum and they need more members. For some, it's about money. For some, it's about publicity. So everybody sets a goal and has action steps and resources, but they're not focusing on what is the motivation. Why do we really want this? That's the thing that keeps you going. That's the thing that keeps you as a fighter and keeps you passionate. So when I look at nonprofits, to me, it's got to be just like business. It's got to be strategy. It's got to be numbers on a piece of paper so we really know the direction. And oftentimes in a tough economy, people aren't thinking, hey, I need to alliance. I've seen several nonprofits alliance on an event. Why not? If they share some of the same mission but they do different things, why not do that? The general public loves that because if you can support 3 or 4 charities at one time and you're passionate about them, how great is that? But that's creative thinking, and that deals with strategy.
And I love that idea of partnering. I know our church, we have what's called Destiny's Village. It's like an orphanage in Haiti, but we actually do that with another church. And I find that as I look around, there are a lot of organizations that kind of pool in together. And even on a smaller scale, if you're at home and you think, well, gee, I'd like to send in so much money to somebody, that's each month, that's a form of partnering. But when other nonprofits and organizations can get together and partner, I think that's just great. I think, 2 is definitely better than 1.
And I've seen recently, because I was invited to something that I want to share with your audience, I thought it was an amazing idea. A caterer allianced with a good friend of mine who sells commercial insurance. And they had, for $25 a person, every executive woman who was invited was required to wear stilettos, bring a bottle of wine, pay $25 that was charity. Now, the caterer was able to pick up quite a lot of business with in-home parties. The commercial insurance person was able to network and get business from the women business owners. I, as a woman business owner, had a blast at this event, met so many people, picked up business, and all I was required to do was pay $25, wear stilettos, and bring a bottle of wine. And we had a blast. Well, a lot of these in-home parties that benefit a charity are a great way on a Friday or Thursday night or whatever people pick for people to become social and deeply engaged. Because what scares me, Linda, and one of our fundraising products actually helps with this, you saw it on the website, it's called the high-tech, high-touch fundraising, the marriage of the two.
Yeah.
I see too many people that they're spending time online and not high-touch, meaning relationship building. And then there's other people that they're just high-touch and they're not online. And it's the marriage of the two that works. Nonprofits have to have both. We as individuals have to connect with each other with both. And to keep that high-touch with that high-tech, that's just the smart way of engaging people into your cause.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot about, what is it, SEO, search engine optimization. And a lot of times I think people think that, for-profit businesses, they're the ones that really need to, be interested in getting rated and ranked on Google and trying to market. They think, oh, that's for marketing. But, actually, if you have a cause, you're actually selling that cause. So, everybody should kind of be connected, high touch with, I don't know if that's what you mean by high touch, but with Twitter, Facebook, and things like that, because you are selling your cause.
Oh, and you have to via your high-tech vehicles like Facebook, like blogging,